I asked an AI for a book recommendation once. It gave me a title, an author, a publication year, and a short summary of the plot, all completely confident. The book did not exist. None of it existed. The author was real, the title was invented, and the plot was something the AI had, in effect, made up on the spot. And the thing that bothered me wasn't that it was wrong, it's that it was wrong in exactly the same tone it uses when it's right. That's what this is about. Not that AI lies, it doesn't, but why being confidently wrong is the same machinery as being confidently right. People call this hallucination, which makes it sound like a glitch, something that could be patched out on a Tuesday. It isn't a glitch, it's the system working exactly as designed on a task that never included telling the truth. It's worth saying how normal this is because people assume it's rare. Every model does it. The expensive ones, the free ones, the ones with a search box bolted on, all of them. Newer models do it less than older ones, and that's real progress. But less is not never, and the reason it can't be never is the whole point of this video. Once that lands, you stop being surprised, and you get quite a lot better at spotting it. Quickly, this is AI Oblivious, where I work out how this stuff functions roughly 3 years after everyone else. Subscribing is free and requires no skill whatsoever. I'm told the like button also does something. Right, why it happens. Here's the bit that explains almost everything. An AI language model has one job, and the job is not answer correctly. The job is, given everything so far, what word probably comes next. That's the whole objective. It was trained by being shown an enormous amount of text, with the next word hidden, guessing, and being nudged whenever it guessed wrong. Do that a few trillion times, and you get something extraordinarily good at producing text that looks like the text it was trained on. Notice what's missing from that description. At no point was it shown what's true, only what's typical. Nobody ever gave it a fact-checking step, because that isn't what it was being built to do. It's a plausibility engine. It has always been a plausibility engine. So when I asked for a book, the AI didn't look anything up. It generated the most plausible-looking book recommendation, one word at a time. And a real book recommendation has a shape. Title, then author, then a year, then a sentence about the plot. The AI knows that shape extremely well. So it filled the shape in. Every individual piece was the most likely thing to come next. The result was a perfectly shaped book that nobody has written. This is why made-up answers are so often specific. A vague answer would be less plausible, and plausible is the only thing it's optimizing for. It's also why AI invents citations and page numbers and quotes. Those all have very strong, very learnable shapes. A citation that looks exactly like a citation is, to a plausibility engine, a job well done. Which gives you something genuinely useful. You can predict when AI is most likely to be making things up. The rule underneath is simple. The less text there was about something during training, the more the AI has to improvise. So, obscure topics, niche people, small companies, local anything. The dial goes up as the subject gets more specific and less written about. Anything recent is worse still, because it may simply be after the point the AI stopped learning. It doesn't know that it doesn't know, it just predicts as usual. And the highest risk category of all, very specific facts. Page numbers, dates, statistics, exact quotes, citations. Which is unfortunate because those are exactly the things people ask for when they want to sound authoritative. A working rule of thumb. If you'd struggle to find it with a search, the AI probably had to improvise it too. Now, the part people find hardest. When an AI sounds certain, that is not the system reporting confidence. It has no way to report confidence. At every step, it produces a score for every word it knows, picks one, and moves on. The picking is the same whether the answer is right or wrong. A true answer might come out of a tall, clear peak. A completely invented one can come out of a tall, clear peak as well. Nothing in there knows which is which. There is no internal flag saying, "Careful, I'm improvising now." The confident tone isn't a claim about accuracy. It's a claim about style, because confident-sounding text was what it was trained on. Which means the single worst way to judge an AI's answer is how sure it sounds. And that is, unfortunately, exactly how humans judge everything. Which raises the obvious question, if AI doesn't know something, why doesn't it just say so? Because "I don't know" is also just text. It's a sequence of words like any other, competing with all the other sequences on how plausible it looks. There's no separate check that runs first and decides whether to answer. The admission and the invention come out of the same process, scored the same way. And in most of the text it learned from, a confident answer follows a question far more often than admission of ignorance does. Very few pages on the internet end with someone shrugging. There's a second reason, and it's ours. These models get tuned using human ratings, and humans, given the choice, consistently rate a confident answer above "I'm not sure." So we trained the hedging out of it, and then complained that it doesn't hedge. Newer models do hedge more, because that got deliberately corrected. But it's a learned habit, not a check. It's still guessing when it says it isn't sure. So, what actually helps? Not prompts that say, "Don't hallucinate." That's asking a plausibility engine to be a truth engine by request. The first thing that genuinely works, give it the source. Paste the document. Attach the file. Point it at the page. An AI that has the text in front of it isn't recalling, it's reading. Those are very different tasks, and it's dramatically better at the second one. Second, ask it how it knows. Not, "Are you sure?" It'll just say yes confidently, because that's the plausible reply. Ask where the claim came from. If the honest answer is, "I generated something that seemed likely," a good model will often say so when asked directly. Third, and least fun, check anything checkable. Names, dates, numbers, citations, quotes, exactly the specific looking things it's best at inventing. There's one question that catches more invented answers than anything else, and it takes 4 seconds. Ask it to quote the exact passage. If the claim came from a real source, it's in front of it, quoting is trivial. If the claim was improvised, there is no passage to quote, and what comes back gets noticeably vaguer. The waffle is the tell, not the confidence, which never changes. The sudden inability to be specific about something it was extremely specific about a moment ago. The pattern underneath all of these is the same. You are supplying the thing the AI structurally doesn't have, contact with the world. So, back to my non-existent book. The AI wasn't lying. Lying requires knowing the truth and choosing otherwise, and it had neither. It was asked for a plausible book recommendation, and it produced an extremely plausible book recommendation. It did the job. The job was just never the one I thought I'd asked for. And I find that genuinely more useful than thinking of it as broken. Broken things you wait to be fixed. This isn't going to be fixed because it isn't a fault. It's the cost of a machine that can talk about anything, something that only spoke when certain would be right far more often and useful far less often. One more thing worth saying, because it gets missed. None of this makes AI unreliable at everything. It's the recall that's unreliable. Ask it to restructure something you wrote, or talk you through an idea, or find the hole in your argument, and it isn't retrieving a fact at all. It's working with what's in front of it, which is the thing it's genuinely good at. So use it for what it's extraordinary at, shaping, drafting, explaining, working things through, and keep supplying the bit it hasn't got. It isn't making things up to deceive you. It's making things up because making things up is, quite literally, the only thing it does. Which raises the next obvious problem. If AI is only ever predicting from what's in front of it, what happens when the conversation gets long and there's too much in front of it? Things start falling off the back. That's next.